Hello and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. We are in Washington State. We are down south near Oregon border, Walla, Washington. What we're going to do is we're going to take off and fly over toward Pasco. That, I believe, is where I can find it was a weird takeoff. Ooh, there was the jump. Walla, Washington. It's where I believe I can find Wallula Gap. And we'll talk about it on the way down there. Or on the way over there. We'll be heading west. Straight ahead would be the Oregon border. I do have us on a flight plan. I am going to open the virtual map here.
1 Alpha Bravo, continue for west departure. I will contact you next when you leave my airspace.
Okay, very good. Contact, yep.
Walla Tower Cessna November 1 Alpha Bravo, continue for west departure.
So we're flying over Walla, Washington right now. And I will get on the map here momentarily. We're going to climb up. We are at 2,000 feet right now. We'll be going to about 5,000 on this flight. Because what I want to look at is basically this whole basin right here from that mountain range over. Well, yeah, I'm not too sure how far up this way, but I'll explain as soon as I get lined out here. Trimmed out. Walla, Washington. Oh, must be a school or park. Looks like school. The main road. Oh, yeah, I have a aeronautical chart. I do not have road maps or anything, so I don't know the roads, what roads they are. I'm not from around here. So we are at 2,300 feet. So I'm going to pull up the map. Okay, we'll be flying out of Walla over to Lyles. It's just an intercept point, just a waypoint. But I'm going to look for a couple of things while we head that way. Now, I'm in Washington because I am just doing my little own research on the Ice Age floods. These Ice Age floods happened 15,000 years ago, so yes.
Walla Tower landmark 906 ready to go runway 20 Yakmar to Point Magoo.
So am I going to Point Magoo?
Landmark 906 cleared for takeoff runway 20.
If that gets too noisy, we'll turn her down. So, Ice Age floods came down the Columbia River, pulled up into a big lake near Pasco. Very good, frequency change.
Walla Tower Cessna November 1 Alpha Bravo, frequency change.
I'm also going to set the radio as well. I think it's Pasco is 109.8. So 109.8. Yeah, we should be kind of heading towards it. On a heading of just about 270, and we are heading 270, so that's okay. That waypoint is just before you get into Pasco anyway. So, in my mind, during the Ice Age floods, I don't know how much of this, probably all of it, was underwater. There was so much water that came down through Columbia River, through the Grand Coulee. We were up there in the previous videos, the Grand Coulee Dam, things like that. Dry falls. There was so much water that came down from Montana, crossed into Idaho, came down through central Washington, and pooled up down here at Pasco and Wallula Gap. Wallula Gap was just a break in the mountains that was
going to 132.6 landmark 996.
was just too strong for the water to cut up and push down and gouge out any more than it did. It actually held the water back, where it took several days, weeks maybe, to empty. So at the time, I believe all of this may have also been underwater. Oh yeah, there's a river I'm getting ready to cross, called the Touchette River. And look at this mountain. Look at these, these formations. Let's say this is southern Washington, right near the Oregon border, which would be right over there. I believe all of this was underwater, at one time. Just 15,000 years ago, underwater is what I mean. And yes, people were on this continent 15,000 years ago. There is some controversy whether or not it's 33,000 years ago. They found some Clovis points down in New Mexico. Of course, it makes sense. During an ice age, all the water's sucked up. You walk across the Bering Strait, down into Alaska, down into Canada, down the coast of California. You end up down South America. It's not going to take that long. And see, we are at 3,000 feet. I don't really think we need to go any higher than that. So 15,000 years ago, 18,000 years ago, yes, there were people here. Were they swept up in this flood? Who knows? I like to think not. But you never know. I mean, they could have been hunting mastodons up here, mammoths. They could have been hunting mammoths up here. But maybe they weren't. $18,000 years ago. Not sure of the what kind of animals there would have been. Maybe some sabers, maybe some woolly mammoths, maybe some woolly animals that were out here. So yeah, this was a kind of a boring flight from Walla Walla. I didn't think it would be that boring, but it does kind of show you what the basin, I'm going to call it a basin, but it's not a basin, what the basin would look like on a big lake like this, covered with, oh, is this the Touchette? Let me check the map. Yeah, this is the Touchette River. Coming up, there's Lyles. It's asking me to turn now. It's possible I could. This is the Touchette River. It runs down to Touchette, Washington, just north of the border to Oregon there. And it could be Touché. I'm not sure. Could be a French Touché. The Touchette River. Southern Washington. And I assume it's coming out of these mountains up here. It's coming out of the mountains. It's a drainage. Because just on the other side of the Tishet River is another river called the Snake River. And it comes out of Utah and Idaho or somewhere up back that way. And it runs down this way. Now, during the Ice Age flood that inundated this area because of the gap, which I could probably just turn a little bit to the south here. And we should be able to see it because up there is Wallula Lake. And we'll see the gap soon, but I wanted to see the Snake River because the Snake River, when the Ice Age flood happened and all the water came down here and couldn't get through the gap, it couldn't get through the gap all at one time. It made it down here in 2 days, but it took 2 weeks to empty. And you may see a lot of this drainage head that direction toward the gap. I can see the gap right down there. So all of this underwater for a couple of weeks while it drained through the Columbia River Gorge and through Wallula Gap. Now you got 2 rivers that meet here. You have the Columbia River, which is the main river coming down from upper, north central Washington. And then you have the Snake River, which cuts across from east-west from Utah. Now, the Snake River played a big part in filling all of this area with water spilled from a dam as well, but it's called the Bonneville Dam, Bonneville Lake Dam, Bonneville Flood. Same amount, maybe even bigger water. The Bonneville used to be just a huge lake over in Utah, and it emptied to the Snake River during that flood, and I assume, I don't know if it was Ice Age or not, but I think just it gave way. I have no idea. But it didn't rush out all in a couple of days. It took that a couple of weeks to empty. So you have this huge inland sea back here, this huge lake that just emptied through the Snake River. Now during the Missoula floods, when all of that water came down here, it piled up here for a couple of weeks, and it backed up the Snake River all the way to Utah. It backed up the river, so the river got wider and wider and wider, and definitely people were here then. People were probably living on the sides of the Snake River. I have no idea. Just the way I like to look at it. So you can kind of see the Snake River right there coming down. And it runs north and then east and then ends up heading south into... It's coming this direction. This is the direction of flow, but it goes back into Utah. You can follow the Snake River Gorge all the way there. So we can see the Columbia River, Lake Wallula, and the Snake River. Those 2 rivers join right here. The Snake River joins the Columbia River. And all of this was underwater. All because of a huge ice dam that broke 200 miles that way, 150 miles that way, 170, not sure. What do we got down here in the middle of this cornfield? Interesting. So there we have Wallula Gap. Now we're still in Washington. There's probably some airspace up here. I'm not talking to the to the radio with. So when the Ice Age floods came, they didn't take over this exit point right here, let's say, because this, I can follow this all the way to the Pacific Ocean. It cuts through the Cascade Mountains back there. And what I think is interesting is the Columbia River did not cut through the Cascade Mountains. This river was here 150, 250 million years ago, when all of this was flat. All of this was flat. And this river system cut a little gap through this flat land, and then over the millions of years the land started raising up and it slows, so the river was able to keep cutting through as the ground lifted up, called uplift.
Landmark ONE 268 Walla Tower. Cleared ILS Yankee runway 20 approach. Altimeter 29.9, 2 wind 25, 4-3.
I actually added more airplanes. I increased the number of general aviation
Cleared
aircraft.
ILS Yankee runway 20 approach landmark ONE 268.
ONE. God, they need to fix that. So we are at Wallula Gap. This is Wallula Lake. Everything behind us used to be just a holding pond for the Lake Missoula floods when they came down. And it took years and well, months to drain out. But they emptied in over a day or two and flooded down this area. And you can see the Snake River. One day I'll probably fly up the Snake River, but I'll also fly down the gap here, Wallula Gap, into the Columbia River Gorge. And there's actually an airport I'm going to land at called Hermiston Airport. It's down just over Lake Wallula. It's just another 15-20 minute flight from here. But this is the gap, the Columbia River Gorge. Everything that left the Missoula came down here, pulled up behind us. All of this was underwater, and it took a couple of weeks to drain out. So there was a lot of water going through here at this time, but not as bad as the floods up near Cooley, Grand Cooley, and the dam up that way. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.